It was the other three, not me.
It was me.
Such a coward with that brave exterior, that act that he puts on.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
they all do, really,
Yep.
And
yeah, but
again, we all know people like that.
We know people like that.
Yeah. Rick is probably the most realized character, whereas Vivian and Neil are a little more stereotypical. They're a little more caricatures. Where Rick has a lot of facets, so you can tell this was a character he's been honing. And whereas whereas like Aid's characters were usually there to play off Rick. And he would do different characters. Like when they did the Dangerous Brothers, they were both basically the same character. And when they're in Bottom, Aid is very quiet compared to Rick in Bottom. But he always figured out the frequency to bounce off of Rick. Whatever Rick was doing, Aid would fill out the rest of the frequencies in there. So Vivian's is just complete. As I said, he's a living embodiment of Animal from the Muppets.
100%. And this also goes back
to himself so seriously.
Right. And this also goes back to the balance we were talking about with Mike and how a lot of people don't really get Mike. You can't have, and this applies to almost every comedy that we love, you can't have every character be the clown or be at that high energy level. You have to have a reactor, and Mike, says a lot of funny things himself, but you have to have a calming presence. You have to have somebody to react to the others. And I love Mike's reaction to his takes to Reggie Bolofsky in this, for example. He's a great reactor, and I guess that comes with his.
Yeah, but he's not boring. He's got his own character.
No, he's not Bob Newhart, and he's not boring either. But you know what I mean.
He's not. Yeah, it's not like a Jack Benny where he's there to react to the other characters.
Right, exactly.
He's got his own thing going on. Like I said, he's got some great lines in this one, and he's got some great takes. With that later in the episode where he's like, Mike checks his reflection, looks good, looks very good.
Yeah.
And he's like, the vanity comes out. So we're at the crux of the episode. We're at the only real story part of this episode when they each decide how they're going to react to the bomb. And this is when Vivian starts hitting it. This is when Mike gets the idea to sell it. This is when Rick starts thinking about threatening Margaret Thatcher with it.
Yes.
And Neil just starts learning like every way to protect yourself from a blast.
I'm going to paint myself white. Oh, racial discrimination, even in a nuclear holocaust.
And that's why this show works so well today, too, is that Rick is so woke. or pretends to be.
Pretends to be until it affects him personally.
Right.
And then that's where we have, but that's where we see where each of them are going to go for the rest of the episode. And that will carry the episode, which they don't always do. But of course, they take a break for the musical guest, which is the only reason that bathroom set is so big. This is so they can get all of Dexy's Midnight Runners in there.
There's a lot of runners.
Who, by the way, a one-hit wonder that does not sing their one hit.
No,
that's in another episode.
They do a cover of a Van Morrison episode in this.
Yeah, but that's also in another episode coming up.
Is it? Because I remember Madness comes back and does Our House.
But I think Dexy comes back to do Come On, Eileen.
All right, well, they have to.
Do they? No, I don't remember.
I'm going to look this
Maybe up. I'm wrong.
I think the only band that did two was
I think only Madness. I think you're right.
So, yeah. Madness does come back in the second season to do Our House. Because I believe in the first season they hadn't written it yet. And then Our House was a gigantic hit.
You're right.
Yeah.
And
we talked about came back.
Well, we talked about this before. Richard Curtis and Ben Elton were trying to create a Madness sitcom. Like somewhere between the Monkees and Hee Haw. So they really liked those guys. Yeah. And they had many reasons to bring them back, especially after they had a huge international hit. I'm looking this up. Dexy's Midnight Runners never comes back.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected.
Only Madness comes back.
Right.
That's so strange because I would have thought that they would have come back to do their
And I feel like that. I feel like Come On, Eileen was a hit. Around
that was
82.
A big song.
Yeah, it was a big song. And I don't think like Our House, I believe, was 83. Mm-hmm. So this season is 82. I feel like Come On, Eileen was out, but they come out and they do a Van Morrison song.
Yeah. Jackie Wilson said, yeah. And it's a
great song.
Yeah.
It's a great song, and they do a good version of it.
Very good.
Truth. Gotta ask you guys the truth. At any point during that song, did you want to fast forward?
I went into the kitchen. And I listened to it, and I was like, I know what's happening.
all I did was I said, okay, I can relax and I can put the pen down. I don't need to take any notes.
My note is why aren't Dexy's Midnight Runners playing Come On Eileen? And then I went to the kitchen.
You know,
I'm sure they loved playing on that set, by the way, with the brown spattered toilet and the overflowing garbage can and the hole in the wall. Yeah,
it's great.
Well,
and
and
as
as you there the whole like overalls barefoot look that they had.
Well,
going
yeah,
on.
you know they
Yeah.
were.
That was a
shabby chic, I
distinguished
guess.
look.
Yeah,
Distinguished look on that lead singer.
That lead singer looked like Eric Bogosian.
Yeah. But they fit very well into that house and into
They
that
really
vibe,
did fit
certainly,
well. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we get to from there we go to the phone, which I love. They just cut back to it. Vivian is inside the
closet.
cupboard. Yeah, and
Yes.
he's like,
He's
I
in the
don't know why you
closet.
won't let me blow it up. And they close the door on him, which again, very Muppet Show to me.
Very Muppet
Yes.
Show.
And then they have an argument about Rick and Mike have an argument about the phone. And then you get this great two-hander again. You almost go to like an Abbott and Costello thing with Rick borrowing money from the phone from Neil.
Right. And this is my favorite line in the entire episode.
Oh, I know what you're gonna say.
Go ahead.
Say it.
I mean, I don't want to seem like a really heavy breadhead or anything, but you know, 5p is 5p.
My favorite line in that scene is
Wow, that was
my favorite scene in that scene is give me it. It's like a 2-year-old.
You know, my favorite line is, I don't want to listen to me anyway. It might as well be a Leonard Cohen record.
Which, by the way, I think of every time I hear Leonard Cohen.
You know,
it's ruined Leonard Cohen.
I don't know who Leonard Cohen is. I've never listened to him, but
you did Hallelujah. You did like a really low voice.
I have a rather earthy friend, and she's really into Leonard Cohen, and I didn't want to be rude, so I was just laughing.
Oh, Leonard Cohen.
But that's when Neil breaks the fourth wall and says to us, "No, you know, nobody listens to me anyway. I might as well be a Leonard Cohen record."
Which is
that's
such
Andrew. I thought that's what you were going to say.
But it's such a punk thing to do, to take like this sensitive artist and tell them to go to hell.
Yeah,
Andrew, I thought that's what you were going to say there when you said that the
favorite
bread.
line.
Yeah. I thought that was you know what?
Well, you know
that
what?
other line was fantastic.
It's a tie,
yeah,
but for some reason this week when I watched it, that bread head just made me fall off the
bread.
That one went right past me, so I'm so glad you brought it up.
It's great.
And by the way, yeah, go ahead, John.
No, go ahead, because I was going to.
You go ahead.
Another thing I noted was when Rick is looking up Thatcher's number, you know, and of course I said,
"Oh my god,
typical." She's got like 100 phone numbers, but it's really just Thatcher is such a common name, and Mike is trying to look up Gaddafi, going through the Libyan phone book.
GAD.
Yeah, GAD. But it's
I don't know.
Which is wrong. It's K, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or it could be a Q.
Yeah, it didn't
Q. Right. But that's the second time
or
in the
GH.
episode. Right. But Rick tries to enforce house rules there, talking about the telephone log. And remember, early in the episode, he tries to enforce the bathroom rules. And again, the hypocrisy. This is supposed to be an anarchist, and he's being a stickler for these house rules, you know, and that's Rick in a nutshell, you know?
Yeah, again, he has high ideals until they affect him personally.
Exactly.
Isn't that funny?
But
from here we mentioned before, we get the Alexi Sale scene, which I think I run hot and cold with Alexi Sale. We've talked about it on other episodes. Sometimes I feel like he's a distraction. Yeah. Here I feel like he's helping the story and it's tight, but a lot of the jokes are just are not landing for me. There's like when he goes into the small talk, it just seems very like a Python copy kind of riff.
Right.
You know,
right.
Where it's like, I nearly went to Ethiopia. Did you kill my brother? Must have been me. And it was like, all right. Some of these are
Mike listening. Yeah. Yeah, kind of like I know what you mean by Python with like Eric Idle at the travel agency talking long for the sake of talking long, and that becomes the joke. I do love when he comes in and he has that sort of used car dealer reaction. That's a terrific.
No,
He
not
looks like,
really.
Not in that color, you know. I mean,
That really
I mean,
works. Yeah,
that was really funny.
you're just trying
What
to haggle him down.
Yes, exactly.
See, I think that actually works with Alexi Sale this episode. I think that in this episode, sometimes when he does a bit, it goes on a little bit too long. It's just like Alexi, you were great. Just you should have tapped out right then and there. Look, I'm no comedy expert, okay? But the thing is that in this episode, I thought less was more. I loved him doing that kind of like, nah, not.
Like I say, I loved it because he was actually connected to the episode. There's so many episodes where it just stops dead and lets him do his stand.
Yeah.
One thing that I had to...
we looked at an episode already. I think it might be Oil, where he drops character, so he can so he can just. I think it's the first episode. He completely drops character and then just does what clearly is from his stand-up.
Right.
Where he starts talking about the noise in his apartment, and I'm like, okay, this is just do your stand-up, because they do walk that line of trying to be like a sketch show and a variety show, because it's just like whatever's funny in their community they'll throw in. But this, like I said, he's following up on Mike's plot.
I was wondering while watching the episode if after that thing where he got to the point of the that he didn't want to buy the bomb, when he starts to go off on his own thing, I was wondering, because I was watching Mike, and I was thinking to myself, does Mike know what he's going to say? Because Mike looked like he was genuinely amused. Now, either Chris Ryan is a very good actor, or Alexi Sale caught him off guard a few times.
It's possible there were ad libs in that. I mean, he's really going. It doesn't sound like he's reading lines.
And you can sort of tell by the cuts as well. I think it's not even out of the realm of possibility that they just took a lot of reaction shots from Mike saying, "Okay, we'll cut this up later."
Yeah, maybe he went on. He could have very well gone on for 5 minutes.
We'll fix it in post.
It down. Yeah,
right. And it works.
I often have this conversation.
Oh yeah.
I often have this conversation with my girlfriend, because she's always like, is that improv or is that there? And it's like, it's really all about how deliberately they say the words. Usually if they're running past and slurring them, that's improv. And there is a bit of that in Alexi.
Yes, there is. And I think that was the part of the show where they could improv a little bit. And I think maybe that was part of his role, because again, there's a sort of, for some reason, from reading comments and things online about comedy and these wonderful classic shows, this generation somehow always leaned towards, oh, this had to be improvised. Oh, was this improvised? This had to be improvised. Not realizing a show like this, with so much in it and so much technically that has to go right, has to be really scripted. And I think maybe the only exceptions were when Alexi Sale came in, and they could just let him go, and it would give the others a breath, a chance to just sort of take a breath.
No, this is definitely written, especially because Ben Elton and Lisa Mayer are not on the show, so they're not just letting them run. But you're right, Andrew. I think maybe a lot of where that comes from is that the younger generation. Again, this is called the old young ones.
Yeah,
we all have our spectacles. But I think like a lot of these kids grew up in a world that had Curb Your Enthusiasm and Christopher Guest, and improv being a force in comedy is so accepted. When we grew up, it was just Spinal Tap, and I remember like asking people repeatedly, "Wait, they didn't write these jokes? They didn't, So like we were used to the 3-camera sitcom, which a lot of what the show is going after.
Three's Company.
Yeah. The Brady
I actually
Bunch,
like
Gilligan's Island. Yes. I wouldn't watch it now.
No.
Oh, my daughter loves it.
Does she?
I mean, come on. John Ritter's a genius.
She's
John
a big
Ritter's
fan
great.
of misunderstandings.
Innuendo, misunderstanding. It's great.
But you know what? Now it's interesting you say yes, it goes after the sitcom, but it also kind of is. I mean, it is 3 camera. It is an audience. There are some, corny jokes in it. So it's not trying too hard to be edgy and revolutionary. It just is.
But I think of it in the way that the Ramones, when you break down all the Ramones songs, they're just playing 50s rock and roll.
Right.
It's almost that the structure underneath it is still intact, but all the artifice on top is what's there to be made fun of and disposed of.
That's right. Because I know it's only rock and roll, but I like it.
They wanted to. One thing I learned from.
Thank you for quoting Mick Jagger in the middle of a punk reference.
You're welcome.
Now you sound like the oldest one.
I am the oldest one.
You are the oldest one.
I am. Yeah. Class of '88, high school.
Now this is
all right.
Yeah, go right ahead. I was going to say that they wanted to sort of be the anti-sitcom at first. Mm-hmm. They wanted to take 2 weeks to do one episode. Agree. They wanted to do, and without an audience. And then, according to what Lisa Mayer said was, and then we found this cast was stand-up comedians, performers, and they were getting bored. Having to, do it over 10 days or whatever they initially wanted time to do it. And that's when, to keep the energy up, that's when they decided, all right, we'll bring in the audience. We'll do it in the standard 6 days or 5 days, whatever a sitcom was. That brought the energy up. And, and so in order to keep everybody from just sort of getting bored and then wanting to rewrite, on the, they decided that they would, sort of condense that time, bring the energy up, and do it more like a traditional sitcom was done. That was sort of vital, for the energy of the show.
And that's
but initially, right. Yeah,
that's something I always wondered, because there are so many cutaways and there are so many new sets. Was that a show that was done in front of people? It's shot 3 camera, but I always wondered, was it just on an empty soundstage? But if there was an audience, I mean. We talked about this with the first episode, Demolition. Like, they're so unused to acting that everybody goes right to the audience.
Right.
Neil's cooking and just walks center stage and talks to the audience as if he's doing a performance.
Right. Right. Exactly. No, I mean, there was, and you're right. It took me some time to figure that out too. And because I said, surely with so many technical things that have to go right, they couldn't possibly do this in front of an audience and have it go right. I mean, they would probably have to retake over and over and over again. And you don't want the audience getting bored. I think what happened was, yes, Lisa Mayer confirmed they did do it in front of an audience, but I think there were a lot of pickups afterwards,
right,
for the technical things,
Well, like they're not going to, it's not like SNL where they can cut away for the cornflakes and come back. Right. They probably shot those things in the audience. And there's a lot of
they have to, yeah.
Well, what we get to right now in the episode is an outdoor shot. Is Rick walking to what he thinks is the post office, and there's a throwaway old lady joke, which is actually a Python joke. I always wonder why it's even in there. Like he's like they're destroying a phone booth, and I'm like, well, this is a Python sketch.
I think that was their nod to Hell's Grannies, the Python sketch.
Yeah, exactly.
The old ladies attacking young men.
Nice reference.
Which again. They respected what came before them,
Yeah. But now this is the reason this episode will run long. For no reason whatsoever, it cuts to Dickie and Dino, which is an outdoor shot on a golf course.
Yes.
How he can't talk. Look at him. Look at him.
Oh,
fucking Dickie and Dino changed my goddamn life.
Dino is such a fully realized cheesy character.
Oh, hey.
It's like SCTV, the level of cheesy entertainment.
It's awesome.
And it's all jokes about golf that aren't funny.
I went up to a coworker recently and said, "Hey, I was at the golf course the other day, and I holed in one." And I said, Mind you, I was playing pinball in the clubhouse, and the guy just looked at me. Just fucking looked at me with like nothing.
Why wouldn't he?
If you go on YouTube and you look up Dean Martin golf, okay, you will find. Now, I don't know if this was the direct inspiration, but there is a sketch with Dean Martin on a painted golf course set. He's with Bob Hope, and then in a golf cart along comes Dom DeLuise. And
this sounds like the inside of your.
Sounds bad,
Andrew. This sounds like the inside of your brain.
So Bing Crosby says, and this is real. So Bing Crosby says to Dean, "Hey, didn't you have a golf date with our friend Phil Harris?" And he says, "Yes, but I had to. Oh shoot! Now I'm gonna butcher it.
Well, it's not gonna work anyway. We know what's going on.
Wait, here it is.
Okay.
I had to stand him up. He kept falling over. Laughter. And then in comes Dom DeLuise in the golf cart. Hey, you're late. Hell, I couldn't help it. I got a flat tire. First time I got a hole in one. Laughter. I mean, that's it, right?
Well, this is what they're reacting against, and it's that you get these moments in sketch shows when the new generation comes in of like kicking the old. Like I said, I would say 70% of SCTV is this sketch. The Sammy Maudlin show, things like that. Johnny LaRue, Count Floyd. It's all making fun of old
LaRue from Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yeah, there was a LaRue on Texas. Walker, Texas. Did you say Texas Walker Ranger? Because that's the show I really want to say.
Walker, Texas. I think I said Walker, Texas Ranger. Who knows what I say?
I think you did. But you're right. This is so SCTV. It's like you said, Sammy Maudlin, the characters Rick Moranis would do. It was the singer that he.
Turning Japanese.
Yeah,
dude.
Turning Japanese. I think I'm turning. And when he would do,
when he says, "I never sing in slacks," that is such a Rick Moranis line.
I know that for some reason that's just stuck in my head.
I never sing in slacks. And for some reason, like Rick has God.
Rick has more of a speech impediment as Dickie than he has as Rick. When he goes, "That's terrific."
Is it Elmer Fudd?
And he's like that too high energy. It's like that trying to be Rickles.
Now, I got a question. For Dino, with Nigel Platter. Was that his real hair?
No, that's no one's real hair.
I think it was always a wig with Nigel.
That was never connected directly to a human being ever. But the one thing I noticed about this when they cut to the audience,
got him ready.
Which Andrew, I am guessing was the audience for the young ones.
Yeah,
I'd never noticed this till this time. They walk through the audience, they say hi to everybody, they go on stage, and the backdrop cuts the audience off.
Yeah,
right.
They're not performing to the audience.
Yeah,
they're performing in spite of the audience.
There you go.
I think that. Well, my first thought of that.
Trouble.
My first thought was, well, maybe this is just the way the stage was configured and limited space, and that's how they had to do it. But now it just occurred to me this second, probably in anticipation of having to do pickups of the song after the audience went home. Which I
do love that these two guys are so self-centered that they don't care that the audience can't see them.
Right.
Like when I looked at it this time, I'm like, originally when I saw it, I was like, okay, that's probably the only way you could shoot it. Because I think about the young ones, mentioned Saturday Night Live before, but the way they use Studio 8H is like they use every single corner.
Right.
Because that's the only way they can do 15 sketches live in 90 minutes.
Right.
So they're in places where the audience can't see them.
Can't see them.
I thought about this time, I'm like,
yeah.
I think this is a character choice.
You may be right, because that's very funny when you think about it. They get this big ovation from the audience and then cut them off.
They just screw them over.
You know, I never even really thought about that.
Me neither.
It's just like
possible? Go ahead.
It's such a, I was just gonna say, it was just like the way that, you know, they drop the background, the names are all lit up, and it's a perfect transition to the lady behind the desk in the audience. I mean, thinking about it from that aspect, if you're looking at it from how this thing is going to lead from one thing to another, that's great. Whether they really thought about that so much is debatable, because they got little old ladies destroying a phone booth, and then there's a golf ball.
Yeah,
Right.
there's no transition.
No transition.
None.
There's a great trantion out. It's a very Python transition out. There is no transition in.
Right.
And by the way, I wish, like I said, I probably saw this it aired in 82. I probably saw it in 93. I wish that song has ever left my head.
Oh God,
It's
yeah.
been in there.
Forever.
Every word I can sing to you.
You know?
Here's the dog in the railroad track.
That's the kind of person.
Choo-choo train gonna break his back. And like we said before,
but now he's
gone.
What? Oh, baby, won't you come home with me? It's like nothing connected at all.
He punches and he's like, oh.
As far as I'm
it has to
concerned,
end with a punch.
Oh.
you can end the show right there.
You could.
I wanted to see Dickie and Dino come back. Nothing ever comes back on the show.
You know? I wonder if they just had that concept and they were just like, this is so good. How are we going to use it? It's like sometimes like I guess it was like the early 90s, Jon and I would write, or mid 90s, Jon and I would write some stuff. It'd be like, I have an idea for something. I can't use it for anything, but it could go here.
Yes.
In this other script, with this, there's nothing to do with anything else.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
And sometimes the joke is that it didn't go. Sometimes the fact it's so jarring that you went from this to this idea.
Right.
Like, that's
correct.
Joke.
Correct.
And this wasn't done a lot. It certainly wasn't done on TV much. I feel like the idea of cutaways I don't think it really gains traction till The Simpsons, which is, another 7 years away and animated. So to do this kind of thing was really rebellious.
Yeah.
No, you're right. At the time, it really was new. I mean, Python a little, like you didn't have to have sketches, didn't have to have a punchline. You had just these. It didn't matter how they linked. But again, what was different about this is that this was a sitcom.
Yeah, it's supposed to have a through line.
Right.
Python never did.
Supposed to.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what makes the show genius. It was supposed to.
You think it's remotely possible that Rick's character?
Jon,
yeah, go ahead. No,
you go first for that.
No, I thought later that maybe Rick is supposed to be Jerry Lewis, possibly. Because I'm thinking who would come in and be that, here comes trouble.
Yeah, I feel like there's such archetypes that I can't quite pin. They're not, well, that's the thing. They're not doing an impression, which takes me back to SCTV. Sammy Molden's not supposed to be Merv Griffin.
Right.
But he's that whole genre and era of talk show host.
Who was that guy, Jon, that you showed me, that bad movie? Bela Lugosi and a Brooklyn Gorilla.
Oh, Sammy Petrillo.
Andrew, never watched this. You'll waste an hour of your life, an hour and a half. Don't do it, brother. Don't do it.
Andrew, Andrew, I feel like you're a person that knows this. You know who Sammy Petrillo was?
It rings a bell.
Okay,
Tell me.
Sammy Petrillo was this high school.
Don't ring that bell.
So he was a high school kid that could do like Pitch Perfect Jerry Lewis. So Jerry Lewis had him on a show to play like young him. So immediately the managers and agents come out. So he just starts doing this career of just ripping off Jerry Lewis. Jerry Lewis proceeds to try to bury this guy. But the managers hook him up with a guy who's ripping off Dean Martin. They made one movie. The movie is called Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla.
And they're not in Brooklyn.
But they do have Bela Lugosi.
Oh my gosh.
It's
this. I have to see this.
It was the title of a movie I heard as a kid, and I was like, I need to see this. I found it on Prime.
Oh boy.
Tortured my children with it. It's on Amazon Prime. Yes, you can watch it for free on Prime. Both of my sons did not forgive me for putting this on. So then last winter, I went and visited Howie, and I did the same thing to him.
It's a good thing it was winter. He would have slept on the deck.
I still defend I will still defend Dr. Goldfoot in the Bikini Machine, though.
Oh my God! Just talk about Jerry Lewis wanting to bury somebody. I heard this story the other day.
Yeah.
The drummer from Pearl Jam was in a cover. No. Yeah.
With the banging in the sound gardens.
Was in a cover band called Kiss, right?
Right.
And they went to a Kiss show, and I heard this on Facebook. So, let's give it the benefit of the doubt that it's true. There was a story that they went to the Kiss show, and they said that their name of the band that they did was Kiss. Somebody found out and had a cease and desist order against these kids, 13-year-old, who were just doing Kiss covers.
Right.
I don't know how true it is, but if that's true, it's just like it just rings a bell of like the whole Jerry Lewis just trying to bury this guy. It was just you'd have to look it up whether it's true or not. I'm not sure.
That does sound like a Gene Simmons move.
Yeah, right.
I hope not. But whatever. Anyways, one thing that you said, John. Hold on 1 second, brother. You said the word there. You just struck me before. You said the word animated. This show, when it goes to like we get to that final scene, before the final scene, Rick's at that office. I think that's the next scene that we'd be up to.
The next scene we're going to talk about. Yes,
he is
right on time.
Animated. He's animated. Everyone's animated for the whole rest of the show.
That's what makes that little old man so perfect.
I love that little old man.
This little meat guy, the beard, and he's like, things aren't what they used to be, and he's just screaming at him. And
all these newfangled changes. Well, of course they're changes.
He just turns on him so quickly. But he says this.
4-year-olds digging coal next to 3-year-olds who are digging coal.
Well, he says a line which I've seen as a meme lately that I never noticed, but I think it's the perfect line. Is the only reason you don't understand our music is because you don't like it. And it's like it's accidentally turned around. But it's so it's so wonderful. And then he tortures him. He's like, I had to wait. Why can't he?
Exactly.
Oh my God. Who's the lady?
It's a tight little sketch.
It's tight. Who's the lady behind the
she's great.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, she played it perfectly. Absolutely.
And she has the cold for no reason.
Yeah.
Just no reaction. Doesn't get upset.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you've come to the wrong office. If you want to come here. He's like, yeah, but oh God. I mean, this sketch has so many different facets to it.
It's actually a sketch with a punchline in this, which is
right. Fascist.
It has an ending. Yeah. And then it goes back to the house. It's like it's just separate. It helps the story like Alexi does, but it's just this little self-contained thing that works.
When Rick Mayall says, no, sign Neil. Yeah, sign Neil. He's that look on his face. No one can do the physical comedy Rick Mayall can. No one.
Andrew, it's what you're saying before. He had these high and mighty principles and immediately throws them under the bus.
As soon as his ass is on the seat,
No, it's Neil.
And the clerk, like we said, the woman who played the clerk and the man who, the old man, are so magnificent because they play it so straight and so real. And that's something that, again, not to get on my old guy soapbox, but if you watch sitcoms today, everybody's acting like a cartoon character. You need that slow pacing and that realism and that reaction. And the way that
you need a good straight man to have great comedy.
And when Rick is rude to her, the way she decides to just string him along and screw him makes that the longer that goes on with the filling in of the forms and everything, she makes him do that just so she can then tell him, if you want to send a telegram, this is the Social Security office. If you want to send a telegram, go to the post office. Fascist. Wonderful.
Brilliant.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's great. So now we get to the end where it's we have an ending and then we have an anticlimax.
Oh my God.
It's both the climax and the anticlimax in one.
I'm going to tell you something.
Yes.
When Mike walks in and he says, you know, and he's holding all those that takeout food,
yeah,
takeaway food, as they say in England.
Yes, takeaway.
And Neil says to him, you know, John Lennon once said that a man who has all this takeaway food is either hungry or knows somebody who's hungry. Do you know how many times I have used that formula to tell a joke to somebody who just looked at me like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I love all of your stories of quoting this end with someone staring deadpan at you.
You know, it's just like,
you never kill with any of these jokes.
You know, I've heard this. John Lennon once said, and once you preface it with John Lennon, you've given it some legitimacy.
Well, remember, he had only been dead for like 2 years when this.
Oh my God, that's right. John Lennon once said that a man who has keys to a car either drives a car or knows somebody who drives a car. It's like something like that. Just like
you can fit almost anything into that.
Brilliant. I'm going to go to work tomorrow and say that shit. I have one guy there who I work with. He's one of my closest friends. I'm godfather to his son. I'm going to throw out a few of these things. I just want to see his reaction.
It won't be good.
It won't be good.
I don't know this man. Just guessing. Won't be good.
Someday you'll meet him, hopefully. But the thing is that
and he'll have a scowl on his face.
He's the same guy who I said about I was at the clubhouse and I holded one. And
you're repeatedly barraging this man.
Oh my God! Well, the funny thing is that he makes fun of me.
That he doesn't get.
He makes fun of me like all the time, but it's just like my other thing to come back at him is to tell him just insane shit that doesn't make sense.
That made me.
But it's not an HR offense.
I would. Right. Oh, you know what's funny? I was just about to say to Howie, I sure as heck would love to be a fly on the wall where you work. And we ship the fly on the wall.
And I didn't realize this till very recently. The flies on the wall are Rick, Aid, and Nigel.
Yes, you can
but
tell.
They're under so much fly costume
and dark makeup, which today would be a problem too. But you can really make out Adrian's face and voice.
It's the voices that tip it
right.
The voice.
It's overrated. You know.
Yeah.
But again, if those flies look too good, it would not match the
silly cast.
Still, the expense for the throwaway joke. They had to build those costumes.
I know. Cellophane wings.
Yeah, and put them in them. It's like you don't just do that. That's hours.
No. Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing which honestly we forgot about.
You know?
Yeah, we did. It's okay. We got there. But yeah, that's the kind of thing like that Saturday Night Live has to do, because 3 days before, they don't, I'm sure they don't have the table read until 6 o'clock on Wednesday. It's like, okay, we got really 2 days to make fly costumes.
Make this right.
Yeah.
And rehearse.
And a lot of the pre-tape stuff they have to shoot on Thursday.
Right. Exactly.
So
they don't have to rehearse the day before.
Yeah.
And again, that's that shorter time, like we talked about the time frame for making the young ones, that they initially wanted more time, but then they decided to keep the energy up. We're going to shrink this down. We're going to do it in 5 days, And that adrenaline of having to go on at a certain time, and ready or not,
Yeah.
I got one question before we get to the ending. This is a real quick one. SPG. So he's different in this one.
Oh, yeah.
He's different in Bambi. He's different in Flood. He's different in Summer Holiday, right? Is it always the same SPG character, or is it supposed to be like, Vivian went out and got a different hamster?
No, I think it's always the same one because he never seems to die. And we skipped over this. It is the most violent because he jams
him in a toaster.
Yeah, and he goes, burn.
That's right.
And the fact that he's standing there chanting at him,
when Viv has swallowed the TV and just for a laugh, SPG goes and plugs it in and goes.
You know, I was always wondering in the beginning. Yeah.
Puts him in the toaster. Burn. It's great.
I was always wondering,
yeah, go ahead. No, and then rinses him off in the sink for some reason.
I know. In the opening credits, where you see Viv with that like electric still, like in the opening credits, it's like, oh, okay, that's where it's from.
Yep.
Right.
You know,
and well, also, Mike in bed with the blow-up doll is in the opening.
Yep, that's also.
True. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
This was such an important episode. You know, I think it really sort of established everything. And like you said, Jeeves, you got those, you know, you find out where those little pictures are from in the opening.
Yeah.
And I loved your observation, by the way. This made me laugh on one of your earlier podcasts. The only time you ever see these guys going to class is in the opening credits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
That would have cost too much.
Never. Yeah, they'd have to build another set.
Exactly. Yeah. Everything has to be like one set or some remote thing that's cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
you know what?
like
I don't even
University Challenge was like the only other one I can think of.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And they go to a laundromat, but that looks like a location.
That is exactly. A location there. That's in Bristol. Yeah. The kebab and well, these are different episodes, but the kebab and calculator, the exterior was in Bristol. Obviously, the inside was a set, but yes, they actually did shoot in an actual laundrette because you know these crazy people on the internet go and visit these places and take pictures of them.
Oh my God! Did you hear about Taylor Swift and the Black Dog over in London? So she wrote a new song, and she's just like. And I'm sitting there at a bar, and it's called The Black Dog, and yada, yada, yada. And now there's this bar in England, this pub, and they're just getting swarmed with Swifties because she said The Black Dog.
And isn't the black dog in the UK just depression? That's what the Irish call depression.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Take your word
I'm not sure.
So she might have just been singing that she's depressed, and then they all mob this local establishment.
You know, and now they've got Taylor Swift fries.
Had 8675309 as their
right.
You know, Jenny's not here.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Oh. I have to ask my daughter about that because she knows everything about Taylor Swift.
Ask her about the Black Dog.
Yeah, see, I only have boys, and they don't know why there's Taylor Swift.
Okay. Makes sense. I have like nieces, and they are it's like everything that they say is, how you doing, Uncle Howie? And sing a Taylor Swift song, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
I'm doing okay.
Is that how they go? Do they all go like that? Because it sounds like a secretary in a 50 show.
Is that a Taylor Swift song?
Yeah, that's her favorite Taylor Swift song. Blah blah blah.
And now, and now we're gonna do my encore. Blah 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 blah.
That's what it would all sound like if your nieces took you to the show.
You know,
it would be like a Charlie Brown special.
You know.
Yes, Miss Altmar.
You know? Oh, my God. Neil under the table. Oh, yeah.
This, again, is the sort of... with Neil, I'm not sure if I want to call it hypocrisy of the character, but here you have this hippie, you know, who all of a sudden wants to follow the government manual of what to do in case of a nuclear attack.
And has a gun.
Yeah. I'm not afraid to use it.
Again, like Rick, it's like they have all these ideals that they will just throw out when it's inconvenient.
Exactly.
But isn't that sometimes students and kids when we were young?
Yeah.
We were young, we had our ideals, and then we realized that, oh shit, we got to make a living. You know,
we try personalities on. You know,
like what did you? You used to say
I was a hippie for like 7 months in junior year of high school.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But you used to say, like when you're young, you try these ideals or you try to make something, and then as you get older, and I say you get more conservative, not necessarily politically. What I'm saying is that like you just try to maintain what you have so that you can eventually someday, with God's help, die in peace. You know what I'm saying?
I said it much more succinctly than that.
You said it better. You know?
Well, it's a quote, and I wish
There's that
That's
song
what
again.
Taylor Swift said, actually.
Taylor Swift,
You know?
I believe it was Taylor Swift who said blah 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 blah, or who knows someone who's
Who
blah,
said
blah,
blah blah blah? You know.
But that was a real. But that was a real
Well
thing. The Protect and Survive manual was a real thing. They printed it in the 60s, 70s, and I guess still the
80s and today.
Everybody and today, and everybody was, of course, it's like Duck and Cover in the 50s,
Right.
And again,
that's a Mystery Science thing. Rocket Attack USA.
Okay. I thought you had just become way too caffeinated, and I was like, the show must end now.
This is water.
I thought we were a minute away
water?
from you running around your kitchen to your living room, yelling "Duck and Cover."
Duck and Cover. I'll go into work tomorrow and say "Duck and Cover."
This is why
I was going to get the zoomies. Well,
yeah.
How is that water?
This is why I'm either going to live to 104 or die at 38.
Or die today. You're way over 30.
You're way over 38.
I'm way over 38. I'm 15 years over.
It's called the old young ones. You're not 30.
I'm older than you. You know that. I graduated.
I know. Exactly.
That's the joke, is that I'm going to die at 38.
I watched you graduate. I'm going to die in 2006. That's what the fortune teller told me.
All
right.
Really?
Look,
okay.
Let's just wrap this up. The episode ends. There's one good joke left, which is obvious, but it's great where Rick goes. He's like,
I hope it's not done.
Demands. There's going to be no more hatred. Get up, Neil. I hate you. And then there's just screaming, and then the bomb opens up, and there's
I love Vivian. I love Vivian. He's just like, I hope it's not a dud.
I also love Vivian when he tries
a great line.
I also love Vivian. He's hugging the bomb. I hope it's not a dud.
Yes.
I also love when he tries to ride a wrecking ball into the bomb through the kitchen wall and misses.
Again,
very Miley Cyrus. Very Miley Cyrus.
Now I wish Miley Cyrus had hosted the Muppet Show.
Blah 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 blah.
That's Taylor Swift.
Oh, I mix them all up all the time.
So after all
Idols,
these
great.
Swifties are going to watch this episode.
What's that?
If Swifties watch this episode, we would be monetized.
We'll be canceled. So I heard you said something against Taylor Swift, huh?
You may have to do some surgery on this one, John.
We're so over. Well, okay. Does anyone have a problem with the plane and the bomb?
I
got a big problem with it. It's so anticlimactic.
I have no problem with it, and I loved it even more. And you know what? I loved it even more when I watched it last night on my big screen and saw the 4 strings carrying it around.
and the craft paper inside the bomb.
It's awesome. I disagree. John, I disagree with you on this one.
That's why they couldn't show it going out the window.
Because they were just going around.
They couldn't go through the walls of the set.
Just around and around and around as the credits are rolling.
So, well, okay, I will give you this. Every single episode has been an anticlimax.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
Is that just the point? Just basically to
I think so.
All this anticipation build up and just for it to land with a silly little gag in a show where there were so many big explosions. The one episode where there's not a big explosion is the one with the bomb.
Yeah. Totally.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just like, I mean, the thing is that like watching that plane go out the window and then all of a sudden the credits roll, it had been a while since I've seen Bomb. I remember aspects of Bomb, Dickie and Dino and the John Lennon thing and things like that. But the thing is that I was just like, when that thing flew out of the bomb and went out the window and the credits roll, I'm like, wait, that's it?
Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, a lot of that feeling with these. That's it.
I'm like thinking to myself, wait a minute, is this their joke on us?
I think so.
It kind of is, yeah.
Yeah,
I think it is. Yeah,
it's their joke on like neat and tidy endings, probably, which is another sitcom trope.
Right? Yeah,
but have the kettle explode, but not the bomb. Go ahead.
Exactly.
Everything explodes, but the bomb.
Well, that's bomb. We have finished. We have come to the end of the episode. This is our longest episode ever.
I'm sorry.
I don't know what to cut. There's nothing I can cut, really. It's nonsense. They're blathering nonsense. And we talked over each other for 90 minutes. I can't even make clean edits. But way back in the old Catholic Comics days, we used to say, how can we follow you online? Nobody wants to be followed online anymore.
Right. Well,
Andrew, is there anything you want to plug? You're on the air a lot.
Yeah. Well, traffic weeknights on New Jersey 101.5. Weather on WKIP. That's Poughkeepsie.
People need traffic and weather. People need them.
Traffic and weather together.
Yeah. And I'm on Twitter. If you want to see a lot of tweets about the Mets, it's Andrew Torres NY, which is also my website, which hasn't been updated in years.
I share your pain with the Mets.
Yeah.
I had to get off Twitter. Well, this has been so much damn fun. It has. It feels, this used to be every night 25 years ago, and we were annoying to people. But the next episode,
I thank you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, Andrew, it's a pleasure to see you.
It's been way too long.
Way too long.
Next episode will be interesting, which will be in 2 weeks. It's the one where they have the party. Our guest for that. And our guest for that will be Ohio's greatest improver,
Taylor Swift.
Brian Murphy is a great friend of Mike Brum and I. Worked with him for years in advertising, and really looking forward to that one. As we look forward to all of them. But if you are listening to this, you can subscribe anywhere you get podcasts. If you're watching this, please like and subscribe our channel. The old young ones, we're doing this a different way. We're doing it video and audio. You get a preview if you're listening to audio, and if you want to wait to see our faces, because there's a lot of head shaking at each other and silent moments because we're choking. You can watch us on YouTube.
And my hair doing this halfway through the episode too, which I was trying to sort of shave off.
Yeah, that ain't happening. But we will, for Howie Weingarten, for Andrew Torres, for myself, we will come back to you with episode 5. Thanks, everybody.
Because we may not be the young ones very long.